Are you looking for a podcast where you can hear from real people regarding their real dental drama? If so, then you've come to the right place. Join hosts Bethany Petty and Dr. Rena Kuba as we dive into the solutions we've created and the mistakes we've made while managing dental drama. Let's get started.
Lady, I'm sitting here giggling.
What?
Because you came into my car looking all cute, and I believe you're going to church after we record here, and my plan is to go back to bed. So I look like a bum off the street, and I'm like, this is how we should be recording, like the live. Like when we've done the live sessions and we look put together with our matching coffee cups and shirts and all of that. And
this is reality.
This is reality right here.
So typically, I look like you.
Please.
This is rare that I'm dressed for something rather than for bed.
I felt kind of tooped when you came in. I was like, what the hell? Like, I literally rolled out of bed and you look like you belong on a magazine cover. Anywho, I guess I take solace in knowing I am going back to bed after this.
You're the winning one here.
Yes, you've got stuff to do. So, okay, real quick before we jump, because I think I've got a really good topic for today, lots to come out of it. I think super helpful stuff. Before I do that, I'm gonna give ourselves a little doot because you sent the June digest.
Yes.
And I must have written my articles back in April.
Probably April. Yeah, a couple months ago.
And same as like what I'm doing here. I have no idea what I'm saying. Just stuff's coming out of my mouth, and I hit send. And you and Sarah, I'm like, hopefully y'all can turn this into some semblance of usefulness and edit out garbage, whatever. So I print the June digest because y'all sent that, and I'm like, I have no idea what I wrote about. And I'm reading it and I'm like, this is actually pretty good.
Yes.
And when I say that, I mean like useful tips.
Yes.
This is really useful. So I think my article topic was, I think I've mentioned before, I consult for different agencies,
Yes.
I guess you could say that. And so I was just coming back from one of these consulting periods. Sorry if y'all hear that noise. We're in a garage and somebody's horn is...
Now everybody knows.
Yeah, the true reality. Anywho, the tips that I had, I was like, this is what we see every time I'm presented with these cases. It's 80% are one of these issues. Maybe not the main issue, but it's definitely in there. So I think super helpful. And it made me sad because I was like, there's subscribers that get this content, but really everybody could use these tips. Everybody listening could use these tips. And if you're not a subscriber, you're missing it.
Yeah.
And then your article too, where
Yeah.
you had real life examples of things gone awry in these dental offices. You're there all the time.
Yeah.
And people are missing that. So anyway, you and I always talk about how can we make things more accessible to people. I don't think there's anything different we could do here.
Yeah.
Other than you've got to subscribe. So no, this was not a shameless pitch for subscribing, but it is like it was really helpful.
Don't miss the resource is really just the encouragement. I think, again, the whole reason this podcast exists is to be helpful to people. And every once in a while, you and I'm proud of every month that we put out, quite honestly. At one point, I put them all in a binder just to flip through. And my husband was watching me flip through these months and months of work that we put together. And I told him, I was like, I am exceedingly proud of the content that we put out. It's helpful. It goes beyond what the podcast can do and really gives tangible takeaways.
I don't think there's anything else like it in terms of resources I could go to, unless you, I don't know, and maybe even then, if you hired a full-blown consultant firm, but it's like a lot of this comes from things you and I see every day. And I guess I put a teaser in my article that was like, oh, coming next, like how to pick a lawyer.
Yeah.
And should I need a lawyer? I was like, I
Yeah.
don't even remember what I wrote. I can't wait for July's digest to see what I talked about because I don't remember. And I guess I could go back into my email and look for it, but I'm going to wait for July.
Your vantage point on that too. That's a vantage point that very few, a handful of dentists are going to have because you've seen lawyers in person and how they represent their clients. And so I'm like, again, It is maybe a shameless plug, but it's not a fruitless one. It's one that's meant to be helpful. That's
Helpful.
why you and
Yeah.
I are here.
Well,
So,
and that's why I was, again, just sad because I was like, oh my gosh, everybody needs this. Um, okay, so onto the topic today, because I think this is another one that everybody needs. I think this
mhm.
happens in our offices possibly every day or every week. And honestly, this week, I, I could have at least 6 episodes of just the random shit that's happened in my office this week of things that we were dealing with this week.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like I was kind of quiet there for a little bit, and then this week alone, I'm like, okay, well, we've got podcast topics till November, Bethany, because it was a week.
You made up for lost time. That's
I
for
guess
sure.
so. Yeah. Anyway, the one that I thought would be super helpful for now, and I know it's fresh on both of our minds because you were just in my office like 3 days ago, and I was like, help, this just happened, right? I was just told about this on, it would have been 5 days ago, maybe. So, yeah, it was a Tuesday, so five days ago. Anyway, I'm sitting there in the office, summer busyness, whatever, and my team lead comes in and she's like, "Did you see this email?" I'm like, "You're gonna have to be more specific." Which chances are, no, I didn't see the email because people try to keep me from all of this stuff because I am very emotional. So it was an email from a parent that they were saying stuff like how our office didn't look at their insurance right, and then therefore we missed something, and so therefore we should write off the $1,700 we have billed them for. So I know a lot of y'all are probably thinking one of two things, like, you know, yes, write it off to avoid an issue. Majority of y'all are probably going like, hell no, like $1,700, like that's your problem. So I think that's exactly where my brain went at first. I, kind of guffawed, like $1,700, please,
Yeah.
please. Why should I eat that? But I think that's the problem because a lot of us will be like, hell no, patient, you're out of your mind. You owe the $1,700. Pay your money. So I think that's misstep number one because I think a lot of us do that and we move on and we're like, nope, you
Yeah.
got to
Don't
pay
even
it
think
and
about it. Just, yeah.
move on and keep going. And I think if you tend to do that, you're missing a big red flag. Because if a patient is taking the time to email you, because most people who owe a balance disappear, right? Like if a lot of times this just goes away. But this patient is like digging their heels in and going, I'm not paying this. You're not ruining my credit history. This is your mistake. You need to write this off. So to me, that's point number one is pause because the patient's taking time to email you directly and they have coherent sentences. They're making
Yeah.
a decent case, honestly. I think my next default is nope, we have that clause just like every other medical office there is that says it's your insurance, you will pay the office whether or not insurance pays. So that's my next default is to kind of go, nope, did they sign the financial policy? Yep, they sure did. Go back and look through their document center. Look, there's mom's initials. Highlight that part, send that to the parent, and off you go. Like,
Yeah.
case closed. I'm not responding to this other than, nope, you're responsible for your balance, like, regardless. I think that's flag number two. Misstep number two that, again, the patient knows that.
Yeah.
We all know that going into any office. But if I had received a $1,700 bill that I didn't think was fair, and maybe why did I not think it was fair? Maybe I asked 10 questions at the front end going, are you sure this is covered? Are you sure this is covered?
Yeah.
How is this? And yes, we can all hide behind well, we thought it was covered, but we don't know what your insurance does. That's on you. I'm still going to be left with a really bitter pill in my mouth.
Mhm.
And this is me running a practice, knowing about how insurance can screw everybody. I think I still would have that reaction.
Yeah.
So, what is the red flags all about? To me, it's like if you miss these are what's leading you to said board complaint, lawsuit, bad reviews, really bad for business kind of things. So, it is vital to pause and take a look and deep dive into this. And in my opinion, they may still complain against me. They may still
Yeah.
say, no, your office was the shady one, y'all messed up, y'all whatever. I think legally, so we'll go through more details here. Legally, I think I'm fine. Even if you went through a board complaint, I think I've got all the documentation I need. But do I really want to run myself through that ringer? The other thing, like in Texas at least, it's who was the rendering doctor. And so at the end of the day, if they did complain, and I see this all the time when I'm consulting, that a dentist say with, Smiley Pie Dental 123, that's big corporate chain, whatever. And they're like, well, I didn't know what they were being billed. I didn't know they had a problem with the billing. All I did was the bridge, and they don't have a complaint about the bridge. They're happy with the bridge. So this is out of my hands. In Texas, nope.
Yeah.
You are the dentist. Doesn't matter if you work for corporate XYZ or what you're doing. You are on the line for anything. And if you have the documentation, but now the parent throws in something about how the work, whatever. I mean, you better cross your fingers, toes, and that all the work is fine. I think if the parent just alleged financial stuff and you submitted that the parent signed the policy, you might be okay. The case might go away. But if the parent had any sort of allegation about clinical care at all, in Texas, it has to be investigated, which then say your bridge was perfect, but you missed your blood pressure on the day that you gave the 3 carpules of local, and you don't have your consent form, and you don't whatever. Like, the case is still being opened against you. And now you're going, oh, I'm the dentist, and yeah, we've got but the patient's fine. There's really no patient harm. And all the rest is billing issues that I have no control over. In Texas, it don't matter.
Yeah.
You're going to fight. So for me, I'm still going, okay, my name's not anywhere on this patient chart. I've never met the patient, never talked to the parents. This is associates. Like, he's the one who saw the patient at their first visit, treatment planned it, did the IV case, did everything. So I'm like, even from that regard, I mean, I think I've got all our ducks in a row paperwork wise. But even if they decided to advance this, it's not going to be me. It's going to be associate that's going to have to answer for all this. And that sucks.
Yeah.
Because he has no idea and no control. But in Texas, that's the way it's going to land.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm doing my due diligence to protect my practice because I don't want my practice to have to deal with all of this. And frankly, associate's not with me anymore, but I don't want him to have to go through all this either.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, like, I'm going to be fine. It's going to be somebody's problem, and it's not going to be mine. But in the meantime, it is kind of mine because I don't want to ignore all these steps. So can we dive into, like, I throw this at you, and how did your brain process? And
Yeah, so you brought it to my attention, thankfully before I was going to be in your practice, and I knew this was going to be one that I wanted to look into. So that's to your point, we can't ignore these when they pop up. And again, that doesn't mean that we have to attend to every single little fire that brews, but I tend to err on the side of what's the harm in looking into something rather than to just turn a blind eye to it. And I actually see this a lot in practices where the owner is a team member is bringing something to the attention of the practice owner, but said team member will explain it away. Something like, oh, this parent's crazy. They always have all these stupid billing questions. I'm so done with them. This is what I've done. Da da da. Are you good, doc, with that? And so doctor is receiving information that this negative review, this negative phone call, this negative email is coming from a crazy parent and or a crazy patient. And then the practice owner kind of dismisses that as, oh, okay, they're crazy, so I'm not going to give it a further thought. We've got to be careful with that. I'm not saying there's not crazy patients, crazy parents out there, but I think if we assume that every negative thing that bubbles up is from somebody crazy or unstable, then we miss the chance to actually dig into it.
which to me too, if the person's crazy and unstable, is this really one that we want the fire to brew and
Absolutely.
go crazy on? Because let's not see the full extent of their crazy. Is
Yes.
kind of where and this is what we're saying. I'm super sensitive to these because I'm just like, this is going to shut my practice down, which of course it's not, but that's just the people pleasing in me. I'm like, we need to do our due diligence to look into this because again, if I was on the receiving end of this $1,700 bill, I would be pissed.
Yeah. Yep. And that alone, just shift that patient hat on and look at the facts and go, is this something that I would be upset about? Yeah. Even being a practice owner, you can imagine yourself in different situations and know that that would be very upsetting. So once you brought it to my attention, I knew it was something that I did want to look into further. So it was at the top of my list when I got to your office that day. I got the patient name from you and just started looking. I wanted to first of all go, hey, do we have the documentation to protect us? I know your office well enough to know that it was there, but I just wanted to double check. Why would I double check when I know documentation is one of y'all's strengths? Because why not?
So, but what documentation in particular are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, what were you looking at?
So I went into the patient's chart, and first and foremost, I just read the chart notes first because I wanted to get like a general idea of conversations that have been had with the parent, a general idea of like treatment plan, who saw the kid, because I was completely foreign to this situation. I knew nothing other than, hey, this parent's upset. So I wanted to familiarize myself with the case first. So after I did that, then I went and I looked at the treatment estimate.
So I'm going to interrupt again. So I guess here's another nugget of if you haven't left enough notes
Yeah.
in the chart note, then that's tip number, 10, whatever we've talked about here. Like if your notes are garbage, then if you had gone in there, and I have no idea, to this day, I still haven't read it because to me, I'm like, this wasn't my patient. I have no idea.
Yeah.
The only reason this one stands out in my mind is because the kid has a very unique name. And
Yeah.
so, and I think that's where it didn't completely catch me off guard. I mean, it did, but 2%, I was like, aha, because I did see this kid's name on the schedule last week.
Mm.
And then that's all I knew about it. But then I see that when the staff member's like, hey, look into this or whatever, and I click on it, it's like patient has a broken appointment. And then I was like, oh, so they never came last week. And as I'm digging through, I'm seeing, oh, you didn't come because you had said $1,700 balance. So then you go back and you see like all of this work was done back in November and we're in June now.
Yeah.
Why is this coming up now? And so I think without looking into all of it, I was like, well, that's probably why it's coming up because either the parent has ignored it, we've been fighting it, I have no idea what's going on. But now when it's time to get this kid's recare and the parents are trying to come in for that and they're like, wait, what? So I'm sure they knew about this balance. They're probably hoping it's going to go away.
Yeah.
And now they're canceling that appointment and now they're trying to fight this $1,700 because to them it was probably like, oh, there's no real consequence to this.
Right. Until there was.
Yeah. They keep sending us these emails with this bill. Let's just hope it goes away. I think that's human nature. I remember even again, me being a practice owner, when we get medical bills from my parents' facilities, I'm always like, well, let's just see if they actually pursue it. I think in my mind, I'm always like, is this one of those that because they're on Medicare, that it's going to get denied first and then the office itself will write off a bunch of things. And so like, what truly is the final bill? I don't know. Let's wait to see what they say.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, if I needed to get my mom back into her nephrologist and they're like, well, you actually owe $400. And to me, I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, yeah, I guess I did get a series of emails that said check her portal. And I didn't want to go into her portal just because I didn't want to deal with it. That may have been what all those alerts were about.
Absolutely.
Okay, so tell me now why I owe this $400. So I could see myself doing that every day. So I could see where these parents are going, shit, the $1,700 is still looming and now it's affecting my ability to get care for my kid.
Yeah.
I better pay attention to this now because I've been dodging it.
Even just you dialoguing how you've done that, I think is so important on balances because I think we've become jaded to how patients actually process bills and we don't think about how we respond to those bills. My situation is a little bit different than yours in that I get bills, I get text bills. Especially we're BFFs with Children's Medical since we have 5 children. We always owe them something. I'm like, I'll be paying them till I'm dead, I think. And I'll get a text email or a text bill from them, and my assumption, because my husband pays all of our bills, is he's on it. But what if he's not on it? What if every text that I've gotten, I've just assumed he's on that. He's set up the payment arrangement with Children's and it's taken care of. But what if he never did?
That's exactly the same with us. I'm like, I'm ignoring this.
Yeah.
And it has, not even a medical bill, let's say the electric company for
Yeah.
the office or whatever. And then I finally get like some certified letter of something saying, hey, you owe this, or from malpractice insurance. How many times have we had where they're sending all these bills? I'm like, I don't. And my husband doesn't follow a strict regimen of when he pays bills. He kind of just gets around to it. Like some people are like, oh, the first of every month. And he kind of just does it. And I have to see, like, as I'm adding stuff, I'm like, dude, can you take care of this? Oh, yeah, yeah, I'll get to it. So I never know by the time because it's happened a lot of times too, where he's like, oh no, I paid that. But because you do like auto pay, whatever it is from the bank. So it's like if it was due tomorrow, but you auto pay, whatever that's called, pay today, well, the bank's not going to release it. They're not going to get it for at least 5 or 6 days. But then by the time they process it, well, then for them, it looks like we're overdue because it was due tomorrow. For my husband's like, nope, I auto paid it the day before. I'm like, but it's not instantaneous. So then I'll get these letters. He's like, oh, no, 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 they should have had it by now. Okay, I'm going to ignore it. Well, then sometimes I'll get these that it's like last chance. You no longer have malpractice. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Oh, yeah, I guess I did forget that one. So it's the same thing, but I ignore all of these because I'm like, I don't want to deal with it. I don't know if it's legit or not. Maybe it'll go away.
Yeah.
Whether go away means like whether they billed inaccurately because it was late and so now they're billing again,
Yeah.
but they should have gotten it, but their auto bill sent the reminder bill, or if it's just going away because he's taking care of it. Either
Yes.
way, I'm not dealing with it. I don't want to
Yes.
deal with it, and it's poof going away.
But it's interesting, like you and I can sit and talk about two very similar scenarios and two very different ones with the bills of your parents coming in. And yet, oftentimes, we look at our patients as if they are vicious criminals, that they are receiving these
Shady.
bills.
They're
They're
shady.
looking at them, they're reading every aspect, and they're like, I refuse to pay this $1,700. Watch them. You come and get it. I'm not giving it to you. And I'm like, that's just not the case. They're real people like you and I are. And who knows did they get those emails or text messages? Did the wife assume that the husband was getting them? Did the husband assume that the wife was taking care of it? Did they assume that this was a faulty bill? And that insurance was probably still pending and that this was going to go away. Like these are all very real reactions to bills. And so we can't just assume right out of the gate that now a parent is questioning it and they're like, oh, they've gotten these bills for the last 6 months. Why now are they questioning it? Well, why now? Because we talked to them over the phone about their child's upcoming appointment and brought the pending balance up and they're like, whoa, wait, what? There's a bill? And then we scoff at it and we're like, oh, they knew. Come on, guys. Like, let's factor in the human
That is
element.
my exact reaction. That
Yeah.
is what too. I'm like, come on. You were hoping this would go away. You were hoping I would just write this off. But you're right. Like now we're dialoguing. I'm like, no, I could very well see how this would happen. And I'm not sure if these parents are divorced, which of course then complicates the situation. And as we're about to start talking about here, the next onion layer of this, apparently a lot of this was the two insurance thing. So mom had her insurance, uh, I guess, um, she didn't schedule because the estimate was too high. Then when we called back to say, hey, do you want to schedule or not? When the unscheduled treatment list and we're calling to see, and she's like, actually, I have another insurance. And I guess it was dad's. So I think I could totally see now thinking about what you just said. I think you're totally right. Like it's kind of like they're going, I'm not expecting $1,700 because I just submitted two insurances. So one of them must still be figuring out.
Absolutely. That is a perfect reason as to why they would wait to pay it. When there's two insurances involved, the assumption is, oh, they're just waiting on the other one to pick it up. And I think this was, to me, for the parents, that would have been a very fair assumption.
That too, and when you're getting these notices about the $1,700, you're probably going, yeah, that office is wrong because I submitted two insurances. So
Yeah.
it'll go away eventually. They'll sort it out eventually and we'll all be good. And then now they're like, wait, like you said, wait, what?
Yeah.
Okay. So then you said you started looking at, you were saying,
An
but
estimate first is what I wanted to look at because I wanted to see what did we tell this parent about what their anticipated copay would be and how far off were we? So I started there. I'll come back to what I saw there. So it started with treatment estimate, and then after that, we have what's called a financial arrangement document that I wanted to see if we had that on file. Based on the estimate, we did not have that on file. The dollar amount wasn't high enough to warrant a financial arrangement document because we do those for a certain higher treatment cost. So I didn't see that on file. And then I wanted to actually see on the consent if we had all of the signatures that we needed. Did we have all the parents signing saying, no, I understand that this is an estimate. I wanted to see those initials on there and make sure that we were covered. But then I really wanted to see,
Although in
yeah,
Texas, would that matter?
no,
I don't think in Texas they care about whether the parent initial that I understand this is an estimate.
yeah.
Like if you didn't have that, there's no standard of care violation that would.
It only gives us the argument or the leverage of, no, look, you said that
Right.
you saw this was an estimate. So no, from a protection standpoint, it does very little. But then
But it's still valuable to say to the parent, like,
oh, for sure. This is
yeah,
why you want it.
yeah.
This exact scenario to be like, no, see, you acknowledged that you knew this was an estimate. You signed your initials here. But at the end of the day, it's like that's a moot point because it's like that's not what we want to hang our hats on or just that's our security. No, don't bank on that being your security. But I really wanted to see the pursuit of the parent regarding the balance. Um, so I started looking at any kind of documentation. When did we start billing this parent? Did we have any conversation with this parent? Because they seemed somewhat surprised by the bill. So I wanted to see our pursuit of that. So I looked all into the account to figure out how we've been pursuing them. And then the third thing that I wanted to see, which I had to get from our billing person, is I said, I want to see the claims. So show me the claims. And I wanted to look at why insurance short paid, because it ended up being insurance short paid, which should not be surprising, but I wanted to see why they short paid. And so I looked into the EOBs and then dialogued with your billing person because I wanted to know, had she spoken to insurance regarding these EOBs, because I saw some inconsistencies where I thought they should have paid for something and they didn't, and I wondered why. Does that answer your question on what I?
It does. And so I'm going to not switch to, but add on, like those last two things you mentioned did not occur to me, would not have occurred to me. Like all I had done to investigate this myself, because it was brought to me, say on a Tuesday, you were coming on Wednesday, and I'm like, okay, here's another thing. Like, I don't want to ignore this email. I don't know if this email came in on Friday, on Monday, on Tuesday, on last week when kid was supposed to come in. I have no idea when this email from this parent was sent. And in my mind, the longer we ignore it, the more you're going to fuel this parent into getting enraged. Because again, society now, we all want everything right now.
Yeah.
So I was like, time is of essence here. So let me try to do my due diligence. And in my mind, what I wanted to make sure was that we had the policy that says, I know that whatever my insurance doesn't cover, I'm liable for. And we did have the parent initials on that. And then I think, then I just didn't know what to do with it. I'm like, because the parent in their email was saying something about how we missed that their two insurances wouldn't work together. So maybe when they called their insurance, probably one of them said something like, oh yeah, no, we have a clause that says we don't coordinate benefits.
We told them that.
We told them what?
We told them that insurance said that they don't coordinate.
Right. I saw that in one of the notes, but I think that was after it didn't get paid. So I wanted to go to the initial, like if we were talking about this in October,
Yeah.
and then knowing what we knew back in October, is there anything we could have done different?
Exactly.
And so from my side, I'm like, okay, and then to your point, which I didn't even think about, but yes, that you have the initials on this is an estimate only. We've got the big red stamp that says estimate only. And then we've got the policy that says, I know I'm liable for whatever insurance cover. I'm like, what else? How do I word this to say, honestly, even if we, thought that the insurances would work together and we missed it. Like, what if the explanation or the breakdown said we will not work with that insurance company. We missed that. Does that still make me liable for this 1700? And I'm like, no, I'm still not liable for this. Like, that's an insurance issue. And back to the clause you signed that says, we're doing our best to try to let you know, but this is an estimate only. So,
But then why would we want to know if we missed it? I think to your point, like if we miss something in the verification process, what do we then do with that? Does that make us culpable in this whole situation? Which no, it doesn't, but it's still helpful to know, did we miss that?
right. So that we can avoid such pitfalls going forward
Correct.
with this. But as far, and then I'm thinking, okay, but so I know that we are covered legally and whatever, but I still don't know what I have to go back to the patient to, like, how am I responding to this email? Sorry, you know that you're liable for any balance. See the sheet you signed. You owe us 1700. Like, what am I doing to smooth this over and not fan the flames? And so I think that's where I was stuck. So I was like, no, I really don't. And the sucker that I am, part of me goes, maybe we should just write it off and, say we missed it. Because that's what the parent was accusing us of in the email, was like, y'all missed this. You didn't give the right estimate. You didn't whatever. And I'm like, that is the point of an estimate, sir. Like, we don't know. And everybody knows insurance is a scheme,
Yeah.
like whether it's dental, medical, car, like whatever, like we all know this. So shut it, sir, and just pay the money.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like, you especially were like, no, I want it. And I was like, I just want to know for going forward if there's any pearls to take from this so that we can avoid this going forward. But other than that, I just don't know how to reply to this email.
Yeah.
And so then I guess you got in there and you want to go over kind of what you found.
So I went about it. I knew we needed to respond to the parent, but I wanted to figure out if there was any quote unquote fault that we had in the process. I think that's important because it should guide the way that we react to the parent. It doesn't mean write off or not write off. It just means, what are we saying to this parent? And if there is something that we did wrong, we need to learn from it to protect us going forward. So as soon as I pulled up the estimate, so I looked at all the chart notes first, and then I went to the estimate, and immediately I was like, because the estimate, instantaneously I looked at it and I was like, it's wrong. Again, I don't know this patient. I didn't do any of the, I haven't even looked at the verification form yet, but I can look at that estimate and know that it was wrong because it was, we'll give loose numbers here, but it was an IV case and it was over $5,000 of dentistry that needed to be done. Very extensive case. And there's two insurances that are clearly involved on this estimate, but the parent portion was only $100 and some odd dollars. And again, I'm going to use loose terms just to protect information here. So it was a little more than $100. That in and of itself, $5,000 case, estimated portion is 100 and some odd dollars. Okay. That right away should stand out to anybody that's presenting treatment as something's up here, because even with two insurances, that would mean one or both has a very high max, which is not the norm anymore. But
Even if they did, say the max was each 2,000, that's still only 4,000. The patient should still owe 1,000, not $172.
Correct.
Like, that should be a very simple red flag.
Yep.
Um,
And the other thing is, because there's some insurances now that have high maxes, like $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, but they have a really high deductible. So this is kind of a new plan that I've seen roaming around. And so I'm like, okay, maybe they've got one of those plans that has a really high max, but there should be a really high deductible. And I know with two insurances, if there's a really high deductible, it's still considered quote unquote covered. Everything's covered on the procedures, which would then cause the secondary to not pay for those things. So I'm like, even if it's a high max, high deductible plan, they should still have to pay the deductible, regardless of secondary. So I was like, already something's wrong just by the amount that the parent was going to owe. But then as I traced my eyes down, I was like, oh my gosh, we've got zirconias on here. I'm like, let's scan across. So I took my finger across and I'm like, patient portion 0 on a zirconia? What in the crap? Of course, it's never 0 on a pediatric zirconia crown. And so I was like, okay, that's wrong. All of this is wrong. It's all wrong. And so I knew our estimate was wrong from the get-go, which then caused me to then go look into the verification, like, how do we even get this? But regardless, we're wrong on the estimate. Now, does that mean now the parent doesn't owe $1,700? No, that's still not what I'm saying. But it means, okay, we have got to pause and look at these estimates more closely. So let's talk about estimates first before we get to the other things.
So I think that again is the crux of where my defense starts going. Well, I mean, an estimate's just an estimate. But if I was told my estimate was $172 and I got a bill for $1,700, I think I would be like, WTF.
Yeah.
Somebody has lost their mind. And is it insurance or this dental office? It's one or both, but it's not me and I'm not paying this. How could you tell me I only owe $172? It would be different if it was you told me I owe $172, but I got a bill for like $250. Okay, so we were a little off. This is not a little off. This is significantly off. And so I think I would be suspicious of everything and all the above, which again, that suspicion then to me casts a light on the entire office. So if you can't even get this basic estimate right, then
Or even close to right.
then what else is going on in your practice? How do I know that your treatment plan is right? How do I know that you're right? Like, if any doubt casted on some aspect of your office is not good for the entire office.
Yeah.
So I think that's number one. The person in our office who is more or less like the treatment coordinator kind of going over this, she even said to me, she said, oh yeah, it looked weird to me. And she goes, the saga of this is that like the kid's hurting, there's a mouthful of decay, give her the estimate. She's like, I can't afford this. Then she said, okay, well, let me give you a couple weeks. She called her back the next week or whenever she called her back. Then the mom mentions the secondary insurance. Mom sends the information. Treatment coordinator sends it to our account or our biller. Biller comes back with this new estimate. And then treatment coordinator was like, yeah, when she gave it back to me, I was like, that's weird. But then that's weird. And
She proceeded with it.
She proceeded with it. So then the parent, she's like, oh, well, it's only $172. Then she said it still took the mom another month or so to come up with $172.
Yeah.
And now this woman is facing a $1,700 bill. And I think that's where most of us are like, I just feel bad. But at the same time, it's not my problem. It's your insurance problem and whatever. But I would say, yeah, it didn't sway me to say, shit, our office made this mistake. We should write this off. It's not worthy of that yet because we have that. Now, if you're an office that you tend to write things off or you're a very heavy insurance office and different story. But for me, that's the whole reason we got out of insurance and why I'm like, I'm not playing this stupid game. I have no idea what your insurance is going to cover.
Yeah.
That's on you. So but I do think this is one that's really not fair to the patient. I really don't like the taste that's left in the parent's mouth.
Yeah.
Even if they were to turn around and go, okay, you're right. I signed this. I knew that the estimate and I know my insurance is terrible. Okay, fine, I'll pay this. I still think it's left a pretty bad taste in somebody's mouth, which is not good for word of mouth. And next time they're in the office, if they loved us, that now we've created this patient that's going to be watching everything we do from a very negative perspective.
Yeah.
It's a liability waiting to happen.
Yeah.
So I think for me, that's where I was fresh, which was funny because when this person, this treatment coordinator came into my office and I'm questioning her now. And of course, I know she's watching her words because she's like, I might be on the line for this. What did I do to mess up? So she's not quite throwing the biller under the bus, but I think if she had to, if she knows at that point, she's going to throw the biller before herself under the bus. So I kind of said, well, you've been in dental for 12 years, 14 years. You know better. It's not like you just started, you just graduated from wherever that you were an RDA that's rolled into the front. You've been doing front desk stuff for over a decade. How did this slip your eye?
Yeah.
And she really didn't have an answer to that.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what I find grossly unfair is this is not my patient, never met him, didn't do the work. I pay you all a lot of money. Y'all are very well taken care of in my office because I want y'all to be able to do all of these things. And now you just something that's like, even I know $172 on an IV case doesn't make sense. That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And you have years of experience. That should have been your gut reaction. And you chose to ignore it
Yeah.
and proceed. That's not even counting the zirconia part of it. Like, you should know that too. And Biller, you've been doing this for 30 years.
Yeah.
What made you think that that looked right? You're the one who gets all the EOBs where all of these zirconias are denied. What would make you think the patient owes zero? So from my side, I'm like, I keep thinking I've got well-trained people. I'm not hiring the new grads. I'm trying to train a lot. How did both of you miss this? Why am I? And I said it to her. I said, why am I left holding the bag on this one? I was like, you two want to split the $1,700? Because that seems more fair. If we're going to write this off, because that's the way treatment coordinator was starting to come in, was like, yeah, we kind of messed this up and whatever. And I think again, she was trying to dance around it. And I stopped her. I said, okay, so if this is our mistake, whose mistake? Well, the biller, I just, when mom said there's a secondary insurance, I just sent it to the biller. This is what she came back with. Okay. So it's on her then? Like there's no mistake of anybody else's. And so if it's our mistake, then our office should write this off. And she kind of was like, I mean, that 172 was really hard for her to pay too. Okay. Well, if you think our office should write this off, I don't think it should be me. And frankly, I don't think it should be associate because he did a good job. I'm assuming the work is fine. The parents aren't concerned about that. The two people culpable here are you and her. Y'all splitting this 1,700? Then she kind of started changing her tune a little bit to like, well, the parents should have known, like whatever. I'm just like, just get out of here. Get
Yeah.
out. So that, I guess that's tip number. It was a big reality check for you and I to go, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah. Yeah. And for us to then go, how do we prevent this going forward? Because thankfully, in this scenario, you've got two extremely experienced people that made this mistake.
And
Which
it wasn't a complicated mistake. It was stupidity.
it
So what happened? Is it just laziness? Is it just we're thinking about other things?
and I think it comes back to we always want to lean onto somebody else's expertise. And in this particular case, treatment coordinator, because of the double insurance, really leaned on biller. Biller may have not been fully involved in the process, put what she thought was a good estimate out. Treatment coordinator blindly trusted. And again, I would never want to advocate for not trusting your teammates, but there comes a point where you're like, we should question, we should think thoroughly for ourselves. My mom used to always say this to me growing up, to me and my siblings, um, when we'd make a stupid mistake. And she would always say, and if Johnny jumped off the roof, would you follow? And it begs the question, like, if somebody else is doing something stupid, should you just do it too, just because somebody else did it? And I think we do that a lot in teams. We tend to go, oh, well, if they say, well, then okay, let's do that. And so these are two very experienced people that were like, both of y'all, neither one of you slowed down to actually think through this. I don't know why you didn't, but you just blindly moved forward with the assumption this estimate was accurate when y'all both know there's no way it's accurate. And even if we can't figure out why it's inaccurate, we should have paused and gone, we've got to at least manually manipulate this estimate. Dentrix isn't pulling it correctly, but we can go and manually manipulate that treatment estimate to at least show patient portion on the zirconia crowns. At least do something. Or pause long enough to go, Dentrix can't figure this out. Maybe we've got to do a pre-estimate on this, even though a pre-estimate isn't the be all end all, but it's like if we know nothing and we can't figure out anything, then maybe we pause and do a pre-estimate to both of these. But these are experienced people that made this mistake. And so you and I were like, okay, first and foremost, we've got to address this and encourage, especially the treatment coordinator. If something looks wrong, do not move forward. Do not move forward on this. So that was like number one. But I think right behind that was you and I were like, how can we prevent this from happening going forward? Because what if treatment coordinator's out of the office and one of the RDAs is stepping in to present this estimate? How can we ensure that they are pausing to go, hey, what on this estimate should I be looking at? What are the red flags, so to speak? Because not everybody's going to have that default reaction of going, yeah, this estimate's wrong because the experience isn't there.
So I think one classic example we see with that all the time is, and now I feel like I see it far less because my RDAs have been with me for a while now, but we call for, say, a sealant estimate.
Yeah.
And the front throws something together and the RDA takes it and now they're presenting, oh yeah, your sealants are covered, whatever. Luckily, if there's like a hygienist involved or something, one of my lead hygienists, like she'll take these things and she'll like you did, she'll just glance at it and go, I know this is wrong.
Yeah.
Just a quick glance. And she's like, I'm not even the front desk person. I don't deal with the insurance, but I can glance at this and within 5 seconds, no, this is not correct. And it's because she knows that usually primary seals aren't covered, premolar seals aren't covered, or she knows that, these are reseals or whatever it is. How did front miss that? Well, they missed it because they're checking in, checking out, phones are ringing, they just print, Dentrix spits out whatever. So does that mean somebody didn't input the data right to begin with on the coverage tables? Probably, possibly. Well, was that person who, did you ask the right questions when you were calling to verify? So if we had newer team members or whatever the situation may be, but if it's like, do you cover sealants? Yes, we cover them. Okay. If you've never worked in peds, maybe that's all you needed to know for adult general practices. But if you work in peds, we know you've got to ask the specific question for all of those. Like, is there an age limit? Is there a frequency limit? Is there, like, it's not just black and white, yes or no, are sealants covered?
Right.
There's a lot more, and that's just for sealants.
Yeah.
So I think in that case, we've all kind of had to learn to go look at the estimate.
Yeah.
Glance at it. Does it seem like it makes sense? So I think one of our takeaways from this was we should have a list of things that we are training the RDAs on to say, hey, these are things that even as you guys are looking at this and you need to be looking at it. Did you really, did the doctor really call out a DO on B when we all talked about and you sat chairside and you knew that was a MO on A?
Yeah.
Why does that say DO on B? Like, where did that go wrong? Anyway, pause and look.
Yeah.
And so we're making a sheet now where we're going to have like a little things that should alert you.
Yeah, almost highlighted things on an estimate. Like if your eyes don't know where to fall, here's a little cheat sheet on look at least these codes and evaluate, do those look accurate? Because that's where we see the most mistakes on estimates.
And to your point, I think the other thing I want to add on it is the whole, does it make sense that patient portion would be zero?
Right.
Find me an insurance now, other than Medicaid. Yeah. Any insurance now that the patient portion should be zero or very,
Yeah, and that's rare.
So are we all taking a moment to pause and to think about that? And then what can I do to equip my team to say, these are the ones that you're going to get into trouble with? Something like an amalgam downgrade or a composite downgrade to amalgam, fine. But that should affect it $50, $100, $20, whatever it is, right? We're not talking about a zirconia crown that is like $400 that we're thinking that that insurance is going to cover all the way. That's not something that's going to be covered all the way. And if at least we know that, then we're pausing before we present that estimate to the parent.
Correct.
Even though the parent knows it's just an estimate, but it does, I think we've beat that dead horse, but it does
get in the ballpark.
Yeah, because we weren't in the ballpark at all.
Right.
I can see why this parent is
upset.
Yes.
Yeah.
Upset or confused or just like, y'all are wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Y'all are the idiots, not me, and not insurance. You're the idiots.
I'm going to cut us off here because I feel like we have so much more to say on this. I would say the key takeaway on this is it is worth checking with your team to make sure they know how to read estimates and to determine what looks off with this estimate, or does this estimate seem accurate? Why or why not? And then I think build a resource. We're going to build one that we'll make available most likely through the July digest, and then we'll potentially have it on the hub as well, where you at least teach your team on what are the things on this estimate to at least keep a wary eye on. So I think a cheat sheet would be helpful, even for your experienced people. These are two experienced ladies on your team that made this mistake. And so we've got to have some kind of reference point for our team to help them know how to read these estimates.
And we did, to the treatment coordinator, we did come back the day you were in the office, and we said to her, like, how did this happen? You know, I already questioned you. This happened on your watch. And she, I think that was her response, was like, well, I sent it to the biller and she's the one who was supposed to look into it. And that's what she does all day, every day. So I just assumed it was right. I did think it was odd, but I was like, okay, cool. And I moved on. And so we talked to her about, no, you need to pause. It's not like you're going, are you sure? What are you doing? Whatever. No, but it's just kind of like, hey, this seemed odd to me. Pause and just ask.
Yes.
And so, I think hopefully she will, because I think she knows I'm tempted to make you pay half.
Yeah.
There is a consequence to this.
Yeah. And it's beyond the dollar amount. It's a broken relationship with the parent now. Potentially this kid is out of regular recare because of the situation. Like, it's a multi-layered impact. And again, I think we miss that sometimes with those estimates. They are important. It doesn't mean they have to be 100% accurate, but they do require or demand our attention. They should demand our attention and our effort on them. Okay, so we'll pause here and we'll pick it up.
Because there's still a lot more.
Oh my gosh, there's so much more. So stay tuned.
Thanks for joining the conversation today. We hope that you are comforted in knowing that you are not alone, but we also hope that you're walking away with some really great tips and tricks to try in your practice. We value your feedback, so please take a few moments to rate and review the podcast. Finally, we want to make sure that we're covering the topics that matter to you. So track us down on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and let us know what topics you want us to cover. As always, please know that we are rooting for you today as you manage your dental drama.